The elders called it a curse. The villagers whispered behind her back. They said no woman should be in love with another. So, they cast her out. Layla, once a daughter of the village, became nothing but a shadow outside its borders. But what the villagers did not know, what they could never understand, was that beyond the edge of their land, by the great roaring lake, love was waiting for her. A love as vast as the waters, as deep as the unseen currents. A love with a name. Zara, a mermaid, a spirit of the lake. Layla never imagined her life would come to this, walking alone through the dense, untamed wilderness. The village had been her home, but now it was nothing more than a distant memory. She could still hear the chief's final words echoing in her mind. "You are not one of us anymore." She had feared this day would come. She had felt their stares, heard them whispering behind her back. A woman who did not love men? A disgrace, they said. An abomination. She had been given no choice but to leave. With nothing but the clothes on her back and a small satchel of dried fruit, she pushed forward, deeper into the unknown. Ahead of her lay the lake, the mighty, endless lake that marked the edge of the village's land. Beyond it, she was on her own. She could have wept. Instead, she breathed in the night air and took another step. After arriving at the lake shore, Layla collapsed, exhaustion wrapping her in darkness. The soft rush of water was the last thing she heard before sleep took her. Morning came in a shroud of mist. She blinked awake, the cool air biting her skin. Thirsty, she crawled to the water, her hands dipping into the glassy surface. The river's chill jolted her senses until she saw it. A face beneath the water, watching. Layla gasped, stumbling back. The surface rippled, and then she was there, a woman with luminous skin and hair that moved like dark currents. Her eyes held secrets. "Who are you?" Layla whispered. "I am Zara," the woman said, her voice a soft melody. "And you, traveler?" Layla hesitated. "I have no home." Zara's expression softened. "Then let the river be your refuge." A strange warmth filled the space between them, fear and comfort all tangled up. "So, what brings you here alone?" Zara asked. Layla hesitated, her voice a whisper. "I was cast out from my village. They called me unnatural." Zara's dark eyes held her. "The river does not judge." Silence wrapped around them, gentle and unforced. Zara reached out, and without thinking, Layla touched her hand. Her skin was cool, smooth as polished stone, yet the touch sent a spark through her. "Are you real?" Layla breathed. "As real as you," Zara smiled, a hint of mischief dancing in her eyes, and for a moment the weight of the world eased. Days turned into weeks, and Layla built a small, sturdy shelter, her hands growing calloused, but her heart slowly mending. As she sat outside her shelter, she fell into deep thought. How could love, something so gentle and real, make her an outcast? She hadn't chosen this path. She hadn't asked her heart to beat for women instead of men. The village had turned its back on her, but worse, so had those she had once called family. A tear slipped down her cheek, but nothing could quiet the storm inside. Layla's days became a rhythm of solitude and quiet whispers by the lake. She would sit on the smooth rocks, humming old songs, and Zara would emerge, her presence as natural as the flowing water. They spoke of simple things, of stars, of stories, of the world beyond the lake. But beneath the surface, emotions swirled. One evening, as the sun set across the sky, Zara emerged, droplets clinging to her skin like jewels. "Come closer," she said, her voice a soft ripple. Layla hesitated, then moved to the water's edge. She sat, knees drawn to her chest, her expression a fragile mix of longing and fear. "I don't understand. Why do you keep coming back?" Zara's lips curved into a gentle smile. "Because when I'm with you, The lake feels warmer. They both remained silent for a moment. The kind of silence that stitched broken hearts and mended old wounds. Layla reached out, and Zara mirrored the gesture. Their fingers entwined, and in that touch the world narrowed to the space between them. "Stay," Layla whispered, the word hanging in the air like a promise. And Zara did. The days slipped by like water through fingers, and with each sunrise, the connection between Layla and Zara deepened. One afternoon, as the sun hung low and golden, Zara playfully splashed water at Layla. The droplets shimmered, catching the light, and Layla laughed, a sound so pure it made Zara pause. "I like it when you laugh," Zara said, her voice soft. Layla's smile faded, her expression vulnerable. "I haven't had much reason to lately." Zara moved closer, her body half out of the water. The distance between them felt charged, a line drawn in the sand daring them to cross it. "You are more than what others think, Layla," Zara whispered. "More than their words, more than their fears." Layla's breath hitched as Zara's fingers brushed a stray braid from her face. The touch was feather light, yet it sent a shiver through her. Her eyes searched Zara's, a question lingering there, unspoken but understood. Slowly, as if the world held its breath, Zara leaned in. Their lips met, a hesitant brush, tender and filled with promise. It was a kiss born of quiet moments, of whispered truths and gentle touches, a beginning written in water and starlight. When they pulled apart, neither spoke. They didn't need to. The lake hummed around them, and in its melody, their hearts found a rhythm of their own. Meanwhile, back at the village, a somber assembly gathered beneath the ancient baobab tree. The air was thick with anticipation, murmurs of curiosity and apprehension weaving through the crowd. At the heart of the gathering stood Chief Omari, his presence commanding and stern. Raising a hand, he silenced the whispers, his voice resonating with authority. "Our village has thrived through adherence to our customs and the sanctity of our traditions," he began, each word deliberate. "Yet we find ourselves confronted by actions that threaten the very fabric of our community." The crowd shifted uneasily, aware of the unspoken subject. "Layla's choices," Chief Omari continued, "have strayed from our ancestral path. The union of woman with woman defies the natural order as we understand it. Such behavior cannot be condoned, for it invites discord and dishonor." A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly, though some faces remained impassive, eyes downcast. "Let it be known," the chief declared, "that such acts are forbidden. We must preserve our ways, lest we lose ourselves to foreign influences that seek to erode our identity." The meeting concluded with solemn nods, the villagers dispersing under the cloak of night, the weight of tradition pressing heavily upon them. Amidst the dispersing crowd, Asha's heart raced. Her friendship with Layla had been a tapestry woven with shared dreams and whispered secrets. The chief's condemnation felt like a personal blow, igniting a fire of defiance within her. She waited until the village settled into the quiet rhythms of sleep and moved with practiced stealth. She gathered a bundle of food and clothing, her mind set on finding Layla. Her journey was fraught with danger, and discovery could lead to her own exile. Each step was a rebellion against the verdicts pronounced just hours before at the gathering. When Asha finally arrived, Layla was sitting by the lake, the water's gentle murmur a lullaby to her troubled thoughts. "Layla," a hushed voice called. Layla turned slowly, her eyes widening as she saw Asha, her good friend, standing behind her. "Asha?" They embraced tightly, the world momentarily fading. "I couldn't leave you alone," Asha whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Not after everything." Tears glistened in Layla's eyes. "Thank you." As they settled by the water's edge, Asha unpacked the provisions, her gaze curious as it fell upon the lake. "So, this is where you've been hiding," Asha remarked, a teasing lilt to her voice. And who's this mysterious friend you've mentioned? Layla's cheeks flushed. Her name is Zara. She's, different. Asha's eyes sparkled with mischief. Different, huh? Sounds like someone has a crush. It's not like that, Layla protested weakly, a smile tugging at her lips. Sure, Asha drawled, nudging her friend playfully. Just be careful, okay? The village is on edge. I will, Layla promised. As the sun began to set over the horizon, Asha prepared to leave, squeezing Layla's hand in silent solidarity. I'll come back soon, Asha vowed. Layla watched her friend's retreating form, a blend of gratitude and sorrow swelling in her chest. Later that evening, Zara emerged from the lake, her presence a soothing balm to Layla's frayed nerves. I saw your friend earlier. She seems like a great person, Zara observed. She is, Layla agreed, her gaze distant. But even she doesn't fully understand. Zara's fingers brushed against Layla's. Then help me understand. Taking a deep breath, Layla spoke of her love for women, the isolation it brought, and the pain of being deemed unnatural. Being here with you feels like coming home, Layla confessed, her voice trembling. Zara's eyes softened, her hand cupping Layla's cheek. Your love is as natural as the lake's flow. Then their lips met in a tender kiss, the world narrowing to the space between them. The kiss deepened, a silent promise of acceptance and desire. Under the watchful gaze of the stars, they became entwined, their bodies moving with a rhythm as ancient as the river itself. In each other's arms they found solace, passion, and a fleeting escape from the world that sought to deny their love. Back in the village, the night had settled, but Asha had not. She moved through the shadows, each step careful on the dirt path. She'd snuck away 2 days ago to find Layla, but now she had returned to the same place her friend was cast out from. As she reached her home, the door creaked open. Her mother sat there, arms crossed, eyes sharp as a hawk's. Where have you been? Asha hesitated. Just walking. Her mother's face hardened. Walking to see her? Fear tightened Asha's throat. The chief has sent a warrior to make sure Layla is gone. If they find out you're helping her... Her voice cracked with a mix of anger and fear. Do you want to end up like her? Asha's silence was an answer of its own. Her mother's expression softened, but the warning remained. You cannot save her, Asha, and you cannot save yourself if you keep this up. Asha just nodded and went to her room, a sad expression on her face. At the lake, Zara beckoned Layla into the shallows. Come, there's somewhere I want to show you. Though she was hesitant at first, Layla waded in, the water cool around her ankles. Zara led her along the rocky edge to a secluded cove. The water was crystal clear, reflecting the sky like glass. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting dappled patterns on the rocks. It's beautiful, Layla whispered. Not as beautiful as you, Zara murmured, her dark eyes soft and inviting. They sat on a smooth stone, water lapping at their feet. Zara wrapped a delicate arm around Layla's waist, pulling her close. Their laughter mixed with the gentle splash of water. Zara's tail flicked, sending ripples across the lake. Layla's hands slid over cool, smooth skin, and they moved together with the water's rhythm, their connection deepening with every touch. And then they kissed, a gentle brush of lips that blossomed into something deeper. In that moment, nothing else mattered, just the taste of each other, the warmth of their closeness, and the quiet rhythm of their hearts beating as one. After their intimate moment, Layla and Zara sat side by side on the smooth rock, the gentle lapping of the lake's water serenading them. You know, Zara began, a playful glint in her eyes. I've heard humans believe mermaids grant wishes. Do you have any? Layla chuckled softly, turning to face Zara. I think I've already had mine granted. Zara raised an eyebrow, feigning ignorance. Oh, and what wish was that? To find someone who sees me for who I truly am. Layla replied, her voice tender. Zara's fingers traced lazy patterns on Layla's arm. Well, maybe, I'm the one whose wish came true. Layla laughed, the sound light and free. So, do I get a mermaid title now? Zara pretended to ponder. How about Keeper of the Mermaid's Heart? I like the sound of that, Layla murmured as she leaned in to steal another kiss. Meanwhile in the village, Layla's mother sat by the dim glow of a dying fire. Her hands moved restlessly, twisting the frayed edge of her shawl. She had lost so much, to sickness, to harsh seasons, to the unyielding judgment of their people. But losing Layla, her only daughter, to the wilderness felt like a wound that would never heal. Her eyes, hollow with sleepless nights, stared into the embers. She imagined Layla out there, cold, hungry, alone. The whispers of the village elders still echoed in her mind, their verdict like a blade, unnatural, unworthy, unwanted. The door creaked as the wind slipped through the cracks, and she wrapped her shawl tighter around her shoulders. Layla, she whispered, a prayer to the night. Wherever you are, be safe. Just then, her husband entered the room, his expression a wall of stone. You need to stop, Amara. She made her choice. Her lips pressed into a thin line, but the fire in her heart remained. She's our daughter, Jabari. Love doesn't die just because the world tells it to. He sighed, the weight of their grief settling between them like a heavy shroud. But Amara remained by the fire, her silent plea mingling with the smoke that curled into the night, reaching, hoping, refusing to let go. The days dragged on, each one heavier than the last. Zara had not appeared for days, and Layla was worried that maybe she had done something to scare her off. Layla sat by the lakeshore, the rocks digging into her skin, but she didn't move. She searched the horizon until her eyes burned, hoping for even a ripple that might mean Zara had returned. Each dawn brought a fresh wave of hope, only to crash into disappointment when the lake remained empty. Her mind raced with dark thoughts. Had she scared Zara away? Was their love too much, too strange, even for a mermaid? She had always been the one left behind, by her family, by her village, and now, by Zara too. Layla's heart grew heavy, a stone sinking slowly in her chest. The world around her faded to shades of gray, and the vibrant joy Zara had brought seemed like a distant dream. It was on the 7th morning, just as the sun began to rise, that the water stirred. Layla blinked, unsure if her tired mind was playing tricks. But then, like a vision from her deepest wishes, Zara emerged from the water. Her hair clung to her dark skin, her tail gleaming even in the dim light. She looked exhausted, her eyes carrying shadows, but the smile that broke across her face when she saw Layla was pure and bright. Layla scrambled to her feet, stumbling over the rocks, her breath catching in her throat. Zara. Her voice was barely a whisper, as if speaking too loud might shatter the moment. Zara swam closer, her hand reaching out. I'm so sorry, Layla. I couldn't come sooner. Tears blurred Layla's vision as she waded into the water, their hands finding each other. I thought you left me. Never, Zara said firmly. My father found out about us. He forbade me from seeing you. Her voice cracked. But I couldn't stay away. I had to see you, even if just for a moment. Layla pressed her forehead to Zara's, their breaths mingling. I missed you so much. Me too, Zara whispered, her lips brushing against Layla's in a kiss that tasted of salt and longing. Their intimacy blossomed slowly, naturally. Zara would brush her fingers along Layla's arm, and Layla's breath would hitch in her chest. They would lie side by side, fingers intertwined. The world beyond their cove, a distant, inconsequential thing. Unknown to them, the village was not as quiet as they thought. The chief, restless and irritable, had grown suspicious of Layla's absence. He sent a warrior named Malik, a sharp-eyed young man with a knack for stealth, to find her. Malik moved through the forest like a shadow, his steps quiet and deliberate. His task was simple: confirm whether Layla had truly left the village or if she lingered in the forbidden woods. He hadn't expected to find anything unusual. But as he reached the edge of the lake, he froze. His eyes widened, disbelief etched into every line of his face. There, by the water, was Layla, not alone, but with a creature of legend, a mermaid. He crouched low, his breath tight and shallow. He watched as Layla and Zara laughed, their bodies entwined in a moment of intimacy. He saw Zara's tail, the scales catching the light, and the way Layla's fingers traced gentle patterns along it. His heart pounded. He knew what this meant. The chief would see this as betrayal. The village would call it witchcraft. His instincts screamed at him to run, but he remained, a witness to the forbidden love story unfolding before him. Back in the village, Malik's report was met with silence. The chief's expression remained unreadable as Malik described the scene: how Layla consorted with a creature of the lake, how their love defied nature and tradition. The elders muttered among themselves. Some spoke of curses, others of divine punishment. The chief stood abruptly, his voice cutting through the noise. "We will see this with our own eyes." He gathered a group of men, warriors and elders alike, and just like that, they set off into the woods with one mission: to find Layla and see exactly what she was up to.